Well, hello there. And for this small group session, we're heading to Genesis 47, where we'll see how Jacob's past helps to open up the door for the future. So before you read the passage through, have a think about what immediately comes to mind when you hear the word past mentioned in any context. What immediately just kind of springs into your head when you think about the past? What images perhaps, or occasions, or people, or times jump out of your subconscious and arrive right at the front and center of your minds? And when you've had a good old natter about that, then do open up your Bibles and find Genesis 47. It'll probably be between Genesis 46 and 48, and crack on reading through verses 1 to 26, and I'll see you on the other side of that. Welcome back. So when Joseph and 5 of his brothers get their 15 minutes of fame in front of Pharaoh, the most powerful bloke on the block, the plan is to use their past experience as shepherds to offer something to Pharaoh. And by adopting this approach, they reassure Pharaoh both that they aren't going to be a major drain on his resources, but instead, and more than that, they actually have something to offer that's useful and valuable. It becomes a win-win situation. So I wonder if you can think about a time in your life and or the life of the church, or church whichever you most recently belong to, where something similar has happened, when something from the past became a real asset in the present. And in a similar vein, I mentioned that a lot of research and evidence suggests that we actually get to our most productive peak between the ages of 55 and 75. So whether you fall in that age range or not quite, have a chat with one another and ask each other, what do you want to do? What do you want to see? What do you want to produce? What do you want to be part of in your remaining years? Now that is a really important question. See you on the other side. Well, I hope that was inspiring and a good bit of fun as well. Now, it can be hard at times to get a really deep sense of feeling and an understanding of Bible events. The events of the Bible, the times of the Bible, they're not our days or times. It's not our language, and it's definitely not our culture. And because of that, we can often struggle to grasp the full impact or just how remarkable the circumstances might be. Here in this chapter, Jacob comes into the presence of Pharaoh, as I said, such a powerful individual, and yet when he comes into his presence, he takes control of the meeting and he dishes out double blessings to Pharaoh. It's all really quite outstanding and audacious and courageous. I mean, some vague similar situation would be us going into Buckingham Palace to see the king and taking over the conversation and directing it when we're there, and not letting King Charles have a word in edgeways almost. I mean, it's that kind of scale that we're talking about. See, Jacob is clear about who he is, what he's about, and he will speak to anyone and he will bless anyone. Of course, Jesus was no different and was even a better exponent of this. And it's something we also have to keep working on. We often talk about being a blessing to other people, but it's not that easy, is it? It's easy to talk about it, much harder to be a blessing, because to be a blessing usually involves thought, it involves effort, sacrifice, courage to speak out to others when perhaps we don't want to do that or we're worried about that. To be a blessing means we have to be intentional and we have to be deliberate if we're really going to pass on blessings to those around us, or even if we're going to aim for double blessings like Jacob. So here's a question as you think about those verses to battle around with. Who do you wish you could have a spiritual conversation with in the next week? Keep it to a week, short time frame, day if you like, in the next week. And how could you bless them as you do that? What other blessings could be on the horizon of our lives to use for their lives? Again, I love these big chunky questions. Have fun debating that one. See you in a minute. How was that? All good? Yeah, I bet it was. Now, the final section of this part of the chapter, when we read that, we discover there's so many people who are going into debt. And a lot of that is irreversible. And often when we do go into debt of any kind, it is irreversible unless the person we're indebted to is ready to show real grace. There's a conundrum that often appears in kind of like your first year degree course in psychology kind of stuff, where and ethics, that sort of area of study, where they ask the question, what is worse? Where is the moral right and wrong? Where does it lie when a mother has to steal a loaf of bread to feed her starving children? Where are the rights and the wrongs in that? You can argue that one away, I'm sure. We've got something like that here in many ways. What are these people meant to do? They have no food. Their flocks are starving themselves. And actually, what's the use of having a flock anyway? There's no land to graze them on. And what's the point of having a flock if you're about yourself to die? Now, sometimes people do get into debt because they make silly choices or they take stupid risks. But that's not the case here. This is just tough times and desperate measures. So here's a question. What could or what maybe should have been done to ensure these people didn't end up as slaves? Or was that the best and the only outcome here? This is a huge issue, not just years ago back in Bible times. It's a huge issue today. A lot of the issues around immigration, boats across the channel, Rwanda policy, all sorts of different things going on in all sorts of different lands around the world have something to do with people being enslaved. So how do we deal with that? What is the way out of that? Or is it just an inevitable consequence of being human? Well, that's it from me this time. Lots to pray about, I'm sure. You may want to pray for people who you want to be a blessing to, and that would be a good thing. And why not also not pray for the work of CAP, who constantly seek to help people get free from debt. You may have had first experience yourself or within your family, or you know somebody who has struggled with debt and you understand from a first-hand experience what that's like. So pray for those that CAP in Yeovil and up and down the country are working with and for. And let's also maybe pray a bit wider than that for those who are being trafficked, enslaved in one way or another in and around our world. It's a desperately sad, tragic situation, and we need to bring it before our God. Okay, lots to think about, lots to pray. Have a great session. See you on the next one.